Have you ever felt that everything you desire is so close, and yet at the same time unreachable? As if the universe mocks you, giving you small crumbs of what you want, but never the full bread? A promotion that never comes. A relationship that never blooms. A goal that turns into a mirage just when you think you're about to reach it. I've been there too. Trapped in that hellish cycle, wanting more, doing more, demanding more, and feeling emptier each day. Until one day I found a book. It wasn't modern. It didn't even have an attractive cover. It was a collection of thoughts written by a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, someone who had everything: power, wealth, respect. And yet, he struggled with the same demons you and I face. And what this book said hit me like a silent punch. Very little is needed to live a happy life. It's all within you in your way of thinking. That day began a journey, not outward but inward. And that journey revealed to me 13 secrets I'm going to share with you now. Stoic secrets. Not magical, but powerful. Because they don't change your reality. They change something far more important: how you respond to it. First secret: prepare yourself to lose everything. Yes, everything. What you love, what you have, what you dream of. Because when the soul trains for loss, it doesn't bend under fear. Epictetus used to remind himself every morning, before stepping into the world, that he could lose his family, his possessions, his health. Not to live in paranoia, but to live in freedom. Because only those who do not cling can move lightly. Think about it. If you knew everything you love could be gone tomorrow, how would you live today? With more presence? With more gratitude? With more intensity? The Stoic does not deny the pain of loss. He embraces it as part of the deal, because he knows the only thing truly his is his attitude. Second secret: act without attachment to the outcome. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal something almost brutal. Do what you must do. The rest does not depend on you. We live tied to the question, what if? What if I'm rejected? What if I fail? What if I don't succeed? But that question weakens us. It robs us of power, because it puts our peace in the hands of chance. The Stoic doesn't act because he's guaranteed success. He acts because it's the right thing to do, because acting honors him, because the value lies in the action, not in the applause. And what if everything you did today, you did knowing no one would recognize it? Would you still do it? If your answer is yes, then you're closer to Stoic freedom than you think. Third secret: control only what you can control. According to Epictetus, the root of suffering is wanting to control the uncontrollable. The weather? Beyond your power. Others' opinions? Beyond your power. Your emotions? Not entirely. But your reaction to them? Yes. Make a list. Divide everything that worries you today into 2 columns: what you can control and what you cannot. And then stop investing energy in the second column. That exercise, which may seem childish, can give you back years of your life. Fourth secret: embrace discomfort as part of your training. Seneca, one of the richest men of his time, spent days eating hard bread, sleeping on the floor, wearing rags. Not because he couldn't live in luxury, but because he wanted to ensure that if he lost everything, he wouldn't break inside. We become accustomed to comfort as if it were a right, and every small inconvenience seems like a tragedy. But what if discomfort were a teacher? What if every time you chose a hard path, you were polishing your character? Cold showers, long walks, uncomfortable conversations, voluntary renunciations, not to suffer, but to remember that you can, because the soul strengthens through resistance, not pleasure. Fifth secret: do not seek others' approval. This one hurts, because we all want to be loved, accepted, seen, but Marcus Aurelius confronts us directly. We care more about our own opinion than others, yet we live as if it were the opposite. Think about how many decisions you made in the last 6 months, simply not to disappoint someone. So people wouldn't speak badly of you, so they'd applaud you. And now ask yourself, which part of yourself did you betray in that process? The Stoic lives in peace because he doesn't act based on external expectations. What he does from duty. And whether he is criticized or praised, neither pulls him off center. because he doesn't need fans. He only needs coherence. Sixth secret. Accept reality as it is. One of the hardest ideas to digest, because we all have that inner voice whispering how things should be. This shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have left me. He shouldn't have treated me like that. But reality doesn't respond to our fantasies. It is indifferent to our desires. It simply is. Seneca said, "It's not that things hurt us, but that we have wrong expectations about them." When you get angry because it rains, it's not the rain's fault. It's your expectation of sunshine. When you suffer because someone doesn't act as you expected, the problem isn't the person. It's your unfulfilled mental script. The Stoic does not deny pain, but he doesn't dramatize it either. He accepts what is, not as resignation, but as a starting point. Acceptance is not surrender. It's stopping the fight against ghosts. It's taking life as it comes and saying, "Okay, what can I do with this?" And that question changes everything. Seventh secret. Reduce your desires. We live trapped in a machine of wanting more. More money, more followers, more likes, more trips, more things. And the more we have, the emptier we feel. Epictetus was a slave. He owned nothing. He didn't even have formal freedom. And yet he wrote, "The free man is the one who desires nothing beyond his control." Think about it. The less you desire, the freer you are. If you don't need recognition, you act authentically. If you don't need luxuries, you can move without fear. If you don't need to win, you can enjoy the journey. Reducing desires isn't living less. It's living lighter. It's making space for what matters. Imagine your life is a backpack. Each unnecessary desire is a brick. Wouldn't you walk farther if you left some behind? Eighth secret. Strengthen your willpower every day. Willpower is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, it atrophies. The Stoic trains daily. He doesn't wait for difficult moments to test his character. He prepares beforehand. Marcus Aurelius woke up before dawn and wrote, "Today you will encounter ignorance, betrayal, pettiness. Prepare yourself to receive them calmly." That's willpower, not controlling what happens, but deciding how to respond. You can do the same. You don't need a crisis to begin. Just say no to a small pleasure. Go running when you don't feel like it. Say no when it would be easier to say yes. Every such act counts. And when they add up, they create something no title can give: dignity. Ninth secret. Make obstacles your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote immortal, "What stands in the way becomes a way." There is no phrase that better summarizes the heart of Stoicism. Every problem you face is a disguised opportunity. Not in a mystical sense, but in a practical one. Were you rejected from a job? Perhaps it was time to start your own path. Did someone break your heart? Maybe it was time to get to know yourself without depending on another. Did you fall ill? Perhaps you needed to finally listen to your body. This isn't about romanticizing pain. It's about using it. The Stoic sees every difficulty as a forge. He doesn't ask, "Why me?" but rather, "For what purpose?" And that simple mental shift transforms resentment into energy. Life doesn't owe you ease, but offers tools. You decide whether to use them or lament not having others. And that power already lies in your hands. 10th secret. Assume the role you were given wasn't a choice, but how you play it is. Epictetus often used this metaphor. Life is like a play. You've been assigned a role, perhaps brief, perhaps long, perhaps leading, perhaps secondary, that you don't choose. What you do choose is how you perform it. There are those who receive an easy part and ruin it with complaints. Others, with a harsh script, turn it into a masterful performance. Perhaps you were born into poverty. Perhaps you suffered early losses. Perhaps you didn't have the opportunities others did. None of that is your fault. But what you do with it is your responsibility. The Stoic doesn't deny the cards he was dealt, nor does he make excuses for them. He plays them skillfully. Marcus Aurelius, being emperor, wrote humbly in his journal, "I do not call myself wise, but I practice each day as if I were." He didn't need power, but he used it for good. He couldn't control the chaos of the empire, but he could control his attitude toward it. And what about you? What are you doing with your role? 11th secret. Reflect nightly on your actions. Before sleeping, Marcus Aurelius will review his day. Where did I fail? Where could I have acted with more virtue? Was I just brave, wise? That exercise was not guilt. It was awareness. The Stoic doesn't wait years to change. He changes daily. Because he understands that character isn't built through grand decisions, but through small, repeated acts. Take a notebook. Each night, write, where did I act from fear? From anger? From vanity? And also, was I strong? Honest? Patient? Right? Without embellishment. Without excuses. Without fear. And you will see, little by little, day after day, how that notebook becomes a map of your transformation. 12th secret. Choose your thoughts with the same care you choose your friends. Because the thoughts you allow to remain become your life. Seneca put it plainly, the mind that doesn't monitor itself fills with garbage. Now more than ever, we live flooded with noise, news, opinions, comparisons. But how many of those thoughts actually help you? When someone gives you a cold look and you think, they must hate me, is that true or just a reflection of your insecurities? When something goes wrong and you think, I'm a failure, are you describing yourself or repeating an old wound? The Stoic learns to filter his mind like he filters the water he drinks. He doesn't swallow just anything. He asks himself, is this true? Does this strengthen me? Does this guide me toward who I want to be? And if the answer is no, he lets it go, because a guarded mind is a free mind. 13th secret. Live as if you already have what you desire, because perhaps you already do. This is the most paradoxical, the most misunderstood, and yet the most liberating. What good is achieving something if you can't enjoy it? What sense is there in chasing a desire your entire life, only to not know how to inhabit it once attained? The Stoic does not reject achievements, but he doesn't chase them as salvation, because he understands something crucial. What you desire isn't the object itself, but the inner state you believe it will bring. Do you want money? What you really want is security. Do you seek fame? What you truly desire is validation. Do you want love? What you want is connection. And what if you could already cultivate that without depending on the outcome? What if you were already enough, even if no one else saw it? Not long ago, someone told me, I want peace, but the world won't let me. And I kept thinking, the world isn't designed to give you peace. Traffic, debts, conflicts, unexpected events, they won't change. But Stoic peace isn't a refuge where everything is silent. It's an internal fire that doesn't extinguish, even when a hurricane rages outside. Epictetus wrote it clearly. No one can take your peace except yourself. This is where desire transforms. You no longer wish for everything to be perfect. You wish to remain calm even when it isn't. And though it may not seem like it, that is something you can train. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is knowing who you are in the midst of them. And here, something unexpected happens. When you stop desiring as everyone else does, the world begins to move in your favor. Not because your luck has changed, but because you have. You begin to act from a firm center, not from lack, not from urgency, not from anxiety. People notice. They trust you. You're the one who doesn't break, who responds instead of reacting, who remains steady even when everything is falling apart. And that is magnetic. This is a paradoxical effect of Stoicism. When you stop needing things to happen, many of them begin to happen anyway, not because you force them, but because now you are ready to carry them. Imagine your deepest desires have already come true. Imagine you already possess strength, peace, clarity. How would you walk? Speak? Act? Walk that way. Speak that way. Act that way. Don't wait to have it to become the person worthy of it. And if all this sounds idealistic to you, remember, you are not alone. For centuries, thousands of people practice these principles, not from theory, but from experience, from prison, from illness, from war, from the throne. And they all reach the same conclusion. True power doesn't lie in controlling the world, but in governing oneself. That power is what turns desires into realities. Because it's no longer you chasing things. It's you becoming so solid that the right things begin to find you. You don't need magic. You don't need luck. You only need courage. Courage to look into your own mind, to face your fears, to release what no longer serves you, to live with purpose even when no one applauds you. That is what the Stoics called virtue. And virtue, when lived consistently, brings a reward far deeper than any success. The peace that comes from knowing you're being true to yourself. That is the highest peak. And it needs no applause, no millions, no fame. It simply requires that you are willing to look at yourself without masks, to live in truth, to walk without shortcuts. And then, without even realizing it, things start happening to you that once seemed impossible. Because you're no longer the person waiting for things to happen. You become the one making them happen. And when they do begin, they don't arrive with fanfare. They don't come like fireworks. They appear as a quiet recognition that all your inner effort is bearing fruit. They show up as healthier relationships, as firmer decisions, as a clarity you didn't have before. And with that clarity comes something new, detachment. Not because what you desire no longer matters, but because you no longer define yourself by it. Not having it doesn't break you anymore. Because you've discovered that your worth doesn't depend on outcomes, but on your consistency. This is what Marcus Aurelius understood when he wrote that tranquility comes when you align what you think, what you say, and what you do. That alignment is freedom. And if you're thinking this is too hard to practice in the real world, it is. But what's difficult is also what's most valuable. Easy doesn't transform. It only entertains. The Stoic doesn't seek comfort. He seeks growth. And that's why every day, no matter how good or bad life is, he asks himself, am I living in accordance with my principles? Because he knows everything else is secondary. Fame, fortune, partner, recognition, all of it can vanish. But what cannot be taken from you is the way you've learned to respond to whatever comes. That is the true secret behind all secrets. That you don't need 13. That all paths lead back to the same place. Your inner self. Still, it's important to repeat them, to practice them, to embody them. Not once, not for a week, every day, because the soul forgets too, and it needs reminding who it is. So each morning, before the noise of the world pulls you away, take a moment. Remember, you could lose everything. So value it. Remember, you don't control the outcome, only your actions. Remember, what matters isn't what happens to you, but how you choose to respond. Remember, discomfort isn't punishment. It's character training. Remember, your life doesn't have to please everyone. It just has to be faithful to your truth. Remember, the present is the only thing you truly have. Make the most of it. And remember, there is no deeper desire than being yourself without excuses. Do this every day, and you'll see how your way of walking changes. How your way of loving changes. How your way of being in silence changes. Because now you know you don't need to chase everything. You only need to stand firm where you are. And if one day everything collapses, it's okay. Because you were never that. You were never your success. You were never your partner. You were never your bank account. You were, and are, the way you chose to hold yourself amidst all of that. No one can ever take that from you. And that kind of power attracts what truly matters. That's when everything you desire starts to arrive. Not because you beg for it. Not because you demanded it. It arrives because you're ready. Because you're living as someone who no longer needs to cling to anything. And that kind of person is dangerous. Not because they cause harm, but because they can no longer be manipulated. They don't buy false promises. They don't break under criticism. They don't need recognition to act. They simply are. And that solidity, that embodied truth, holds magnetic power. Opportunities seek it out. The right people are drawn to it. Projects begin to flow, not by magic, but because you're no longer blocking them with anxiety, fear, or desperation. And here, desire itself transforms. It's no longer a void. It becomes a pure intention. It no longer springs from, I need to have this to feel whole. It springs from this aligns with who I am, and I will walk toward it with presence, patience, and purpose. And then, every step you take, even if you never reach the goal, is already a victory, because you're no longer betraying yourself. You're no longer living from other people's expectations. You're no longer acting like someone begging for crumbs of validation. You're acting like someone who has remembered their sender. And that memory, that internal return, is the beginning of everything you once searched for outside. So perhaps what you really needed wasn't some magical formula. It was simply remembering what was always within you, that invulnerable core untouched by failure or glory, that sacred place where your freedom dwells, that silent space where, if you sit for a moment and breathe, you can feel it. You are okay, here, now, with what you have, with what you don't have, with what you are. And if you made it this far, let me tell you something honestly. You are not alone. You are not the only one who has felt that emptiness. You are not the only one who has longed intensely and doubted yourself upon not receiving it. You are not the only one who has known fear, anger, sadness, exhaustion. But now you know something many never discover. You don't need the world to change or your life to change. You only need to start from within. You only need to remember that your power lies not in controlling the external, but in becoming someone so solid that nothing outside can steal your peace. And that doesn't come just from reading books or from watching this video. It comes through practice, through small decisions every day, choosing not to complain when everything pushes you to, choosing to breathe before reacting, choosing to speak truthfully even when silence would be easier, choosing to love without dependence, choosing to walk with purpose, even if no one understands. That's what I'm proposing to you now. Not that you apply the 13 secrets like a self-help checklist, but that you choose one, just one, and put it into practice today. Maybe it will be accepting something painful. Maybe it's letting go of an expectation. Maybe it's writing about your day in a notebook before falling asleep. It doesn't matter which one. What matters is that you act. Because only through action does knowledge become wisdom. And if anything you've heard here has touched you, if any phrase awakens something inside, don't let it remain a passing emotion. Let it become momentum. Share this video with someone who needs it, someone trapped in their desire, someone who feels they can't take it anymore, someone ready to look inward. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because this channel isn't made to give you quick answers. It's made to remind you who you are when everything outside wants you to forget. Every week, I'll continue sharing tools, stories, reflections, not to entertain you, but to strengthen you, so that each video becomes another stone in the construction of that inner temple that is you. And if you want to take it a step further, leave a comment with just one word. I begin. Because sometimes you don't need a perfect plan. You just need to commit. Not to me, to yourself. Make it public. Make it real. Right? I begin, and turn this moment into a turning point. I won't promise it will be easy. I promise it will be worth it. Because when you live through Stoic philosophy, you discover something incredible. What you truly wanted wasn't money, fame, or approval. It was to live in peace with yourself. And that desire, the deepest, most real, most lasting, doesn't depend on anything external. It depends solely on you. So now you know, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Now is already the time. Begin.
Remember, practicing Stoicism is a daily journey toward inner peace and resilience. If this video has inspired you to reflect or helped you see things from a different perspective, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Which idea resonated with you the most? How do you apply Stoic discipline in your life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we will continue exploring the wisdom of the great Stoics and discovering how to apply it to our modern lives. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next video. Keep cultivating strength with every step and share your journey with us.